All right, let's bring in now retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who served 2 combat tours in Afghanistan. Colonel Davis, thank you so much for your time. I know you've had a chance to go through this report. We hear intelligence agencies, military experts, analysts all concluded the Afghan National Security Forces would be able to hold Kabul for months after U.S. troops withdrew. As you know, as we all know, it fell in a matter of hours to the Taliban. Why did that unanimous analysis end up being so drastically wrong?
You know, I think it's a real picture of the arrogance that the U.S. Really across the board has given this whole thing throughout the beginning, from the beginning all the way through. They looked at the details on a piece of paper and they said, okay, well, the Taliban has fewer troops. The Afghans been trained. You know, they look at the statistics and they said, yeah, they'll be able to hold. Not paying attention to the fundamentals that were underneath this. And look, and as I wrote about in 2012, even at that time, some of the Afghan security forces were making deals with the Taliban not to fight in certain areas so that they could just kind of basically both coexist. And that happened on a industrial scale when it came into the final months. And that shouldn't have surprised anybody, but it seems to have caught them, apparently, the whole investigative group by surprise, and all of the intelligence officials. And that should be a problem.
Yeah, it's certainly disturbing. Unanimously thinking it's going to take months. Takes a matter of hours, essentially. Let's talk about what Blake talked about at the end of his report there, Colonel. A lot of blame being thrown at our previous administration, the Trump administration. The word Trump is actually mentioned 14 times in this newly released report. Would you say that finger pointing is fair? And do you think lawmakers and Americans who've been waiting for answers will be satisfied with that?
No, they definitely won't be satisfied with that. But look, I think there's a couple of things at play. First of all, President Biden deserves absolute credit for ending this war because none of his predecessors did. A lot of them talked about it, but nobody ever did it. They just kept kicking the can down the road. And he deserves some real credit. Took a lot of heat for making that hard call. However, then there does exist some real problems with how things were conducted once those decisions were made. And one of the biggest ones was why, when in this report, they even acknowledged that there was a deal in place from the Trump administration for an end of the mission on May 1st of 2021. Why did they wait then 2 weeks before that deadline before they even announced what they were going to do? That should have been done much, much earlier, but instead it was delayed in there. The second big problem I have with what this report shows is that it doesn't even address the Pentagon, because this deal was made in 2020, and the Pentagon is the one who's responsible for executing these kinds of missions, and they didn't even have a plan. And that is something that needs to be examined.
Absolutely. And we know hindsight's always 2020, but hopefully we can certainly learn something from this as we move forward. Colonel Davis, we appreciate your time as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.